Triple H is way down here. You've got Ari, you've got Nick Khan, you've got Dwayne all working above him. And if they're not all working in concert together, like that's going to be really hard to keep good storylines afloat. Like if these guys up here at the top are doing things what they believe is best for business, or hey, we're going to make these business decisions because we're TKO and this is what we're going to do, but then that contradicts with what you want. Like, let's just take The Rock at his word and say he was called to come in because ticket sales were bad. Like, how are you not running that past Triple H first? Like, hey, how can we fold this into a story and make sure it ultimately makes sense? And again, based on what The Rock was saying, if we're taking him at his word, that's not at all what happened. And that's when you can start to lose your creative continuity, which is something that they've done so well under Triple H at times.
So the only way to salvage this at some point this year, guys, and save this, Brian, because I feel like the way that these real stories are out there for everybody, maybe this is the way to salvage it. When The Rock is ready to come back, there has to be a confrontation between him and Triple H. It's going to be verbal because Triple H can't wrestle. Yeah. But my point is that if this is a real issue, then it's going to have to be some kind of power struggle on screen. It has to be, because we all know it. This whole company that says sit back and enjoy it, well, it's open for everybody. That clearly The Rock says this on McAfee about how, I would have done things slightly differently. And then Triple H does this, and you say that in the open, that means you're not working collaboratively. You're not working together. So hopefully this ends up in the ring as far as them talking about this and talking through this. So that way it becomes an angle of some distinction.
I mean, you're going to get Cody and Bad Bunny versus Cena and Travis Scott. Same thing, right?
In Puerto Rico?
I mean, yeah, if you sign me up for Puerto Rico, yeah, let's go ahead and put that in Puerto Rico. I'll fly down and cover it for us.
But you sort of have that random.
Yeah, but you gotta get the beard back though.
Right.
Before you come back to go to Puerto Rico, beard. You can't go down there and just gringo. You gotta go in there. You can't go in there gringo loco. You gotta go in there with the beard, Puerto Rico, with your wife, and film it for us. Awesome.
Remember last year at that impromptu press conference thing in Vegas when they changed the main event and they did a whole thing? Dwayne and Hunter had that backstage thing. Remember Rock was walking out, you need to handle this. You need to handle this. And obviously nothing came of that, but I don't know, it's just weird seeing some of this stuff. And WrestleMania ends so differently if that's where we get to see a heel turn. And Dwayne's never involved in this story.
Yes, correct. Mm-hmm. And they were probably able to do something.
The product right now.
Yeah, the lack of Rock is hurting the product.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say that. The lack of Rock being there is hurting the product. Yes.
Now we can go we could do the story of Cody versus Cena, two baby faces going after each other. Now it gets booed like Bautista against
Goldberg.
Brock or Goldberg, but still, if the end of it is, hey, Cena turns heel, now we're off to the races.
Yes.
But it was before the horse was before the cart in that spot. It's weird.
Yep.
Well, because again, and it just directly contradicts, because there were a lot of us, and I'll raise my hand because I was one of them, that were complaining after he showed up at Bad Blood in Atlanta and then disappeared for a long time until we got him on Netflix. And it's like, okay, where's The Rock? And, oh, no, everything happens for a reason. Everything we do happens for a reason. And then The Rock shows up on McAfee and just flies in direct contradiction of that. You can't have that message and then have that person go out there and do that. And again, it's such a weird time in WWE right now, because I don't know what the press conferences are for. Some people do them in character, some do them out of a character. And same thing with interviews, even on the McAfee show, because clearly Paul Heyman showed up in character and then just took a blowtorch to everything on the Monday after WrestleMania on McAfee's show. But then The Rock shows up as Dwayne Johnson and not the final boss, The Rock.
And there's that weird
very
creative
confusing
freedom where we have had multiple WWE wrestlers on this show. One ever was in character. Most of them were not. And it's we got some real honest stuff to where oh, there's some stories there, but they can't seem to make up their mind which direction they're going in.
Yeah, I just and I tell you what, business is going well, obviously financially for WWE. It's a cool brand. It's cooler than AEW. Again, this is the public perception. And Brian, you can speak to it better than Gabe and I can as far as your ear to the streets, what people are saying. I know a lot of independent shows are happening, but what were people saying about AEW versus WWE just in the crowd, just in conversations or passing? Do you hear anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, you see it walking around Vegas. Like, there's a reason Allegiant was sold out. Like, there are WWE shirts everywhere. Like, getting on my plane from South Florida, there are grown men dressed as Jey Uso. Like, it is the product. It is the mainstream product right now, but just something's off.
But that's the problem. Like they got to fix that, and they got to fix it quickly.
Yeah.
Like, because the longer this lingers, the longer it becomes a bigger problem, and the more you risk losing that cool factor that you have.
Mhm.
Like they were fortunate, but I mean, I got to imagine that they were a little nervous heading into WrestleMania. They got more tickets sold than anticipated, but there was a pretty decent amount of tickets sold, at least if you follow the Twitter account WrestleTix.
Yeah.
Based on that, it seemed like there were a decent amount of WrestleMania tickets sold the last week leading into that. And I'm guessing, if you're in a place like Vegas and your WWE and your TKE are going, ooh, hopefully we can do this. And it probably makes you rethink about making SummerSlam a 2-night event, or thinking about doing the Royal Rumble or Money in the Bank as 2-night events. Like, unless you keep this momentum going, which WrestleMania is an example of not keeping it going, you're going to have issues with these big plans that you have.
Yep.
Yeah, just remember, this whole thing about WWE is about moments. They're about TikTok. They're about Instagram. I think the first time that I heard something I didn't like from WWE as of late was Road Dogg Jesse James. I think we talked about this several years ago on the show when he said that wins and losses don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's about moments. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, wins and losses doesn't, because it's part of the story. What do you mean it doesn't matter? Of course they matter, because as a fan, I'm watching episodically. I'm keeping track on who's good, who's not, who's in contention, who's not. He says, wins and losses don't matter. Well, I'll tell you, they do a lot of slow burn stuff in WWE.